California or Cali?
California.
Cal Berkeley or Cal?
Cal, and my wife may kill me for even mentioning otherwise.
Some of these is like right answer and some of them is just preference, right? So, uh, Top Dog or Blondies?
Blondies no longer exist, so
Come on, but
R.I.P. Blondies, but it'd still be top. Well, no, it would be Blondies, but R.I.P. I have to interrupt this intro. Blondies does technically still exist. It's not the same Blondies as what I know and what Emily was talking about. It exists. It's in the same spot. It's different pizza. It's not nearly as good. Blondies is dead. Long live Blondies.
Preakness or weakness?
Weakness.
All right.
1, 2, 3, 4. Going to AC Saturday night. 50 on red, better be right. See all the girls looking so nice. My love's changing with that roll of the dice.
We're back talking horse racing, the greatest gambling game in the world. And Emily, was that the worst Preakness you've ever seen?
It was I would say it's as advertised, right? I mean, it had that look going in. We had pretty much talked about it like during the draw, but the more I just looked at it, I'm like, it just is a horse race. And even going back and watching it, it looks like a horse race. And it's an interesting thing because it just makes you think of like different ways to like approach horse racing, right? Like we talk a lot about the handicapping aspect. There's certain things that go into handicapping. And then there's certain ways that you start to approach races to play them as well, right? So if like going into the Derby, I had a strong opinion on Golden Tempo and a strong enough opinion at the price that there really wasn't going to be a number I wasn't going to play him at, right? Like I knew it wasn't going to be short. If it was 40 to 1, I was playing. If it was 20 to 1, I was still playing, and like, and I didn't think it would ever be like any shorter than that.
Right.
Now, when we discussed the Preakness, it was like, there's kind of horses that are pretty much outliers to win, but there's about 10 horses that could, some more logical than others.
Yeah.
But then it just came down to like, what price was that horse going to be?
Yeah.
And that's how you had to, if you were going to play the race, that's how you had to play it. And you're a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
To playing Napoleon Solo by looking at the board and saying, this horse is 10 to 1, this is the play.
Yeah.
Now I think if he was 7 to 1, would you have still played? But even still.
Yeah. At that point, I probably would have because I had talked myself into it. But 7 to 1, I would have been like, wait, why? How? Like he's been 9, 10 to 1 since yesterday. Since like every possible thing came out, he was there. And then he went off at 7 to 1 in the last click. And Ed DeRosa posted about how like showed that big drop. It was just like, it can't happen on big days, except for the second biggest race of the year. It can happen. And I don't think anybody's gonna, well, I'm sure people on Twitter are going to complain about getting 7 to 1 as opposed to 9 to 1. Also, the number of people who I saw post who said I can never get to that horse. So I'm going to give Chris Larmy some credit because he's the one that pushed me over the edge on him. Just like if he gets to the lead, is anybody going to pass him? This doesn't look like a group that's really likes passing horses, and it kind of played out exactly that way. And we talked about Taj Mahal, and I'm going to thank you for talking me off Taj Mahal because he was going to be my play before this. It was just like, I don't know, he went the distance basically before, and why can't he do it now? And just that was his top effort in the Tessio. So
yeah,
it kind of all made sense.
And I talked about it too. I said if he wins, he's not going to win on the lead. He's going to win by stalking and pouncing. And when they hard sent to the lead right from the jump, I was like, it's over.
Yeah.
Like,
if he was Napoleon Solo, like, does he win? Like, does Napoleon Solo, who was very much slowing down and looked like he was getting past at the 16th pole, like, maybe Napoleon Solo could have that trip.
Yeah. And I mean, we talked about the pace as well and saying that, yeah, there looks like there's a lot of pace on paper, but the jockeys and the connections are all looking at the same thing that we are.
Yeah.
And they're not going to all go to a duel. So this is the type of scenario where, yeah, it's supposed to fall apart, but it could not at the same time because we've seen so many of those times people take back and that's it. And that's why I tweeted out Golden Tempo was never going to win that race, not just because he wasn't entered, but it was like it just wouldn't set up for him. Not because he's not the best horse in that group. I think that's a completely different argument, but
Yeah.
it's just the way that it ran, the way the track, et cetera, et cetera. So
The track especially felt like it was not allowing that. So I'll pull it up real quick and we look at it. Napoleon Solo was the 10. He's the winner. Number 1, Taj Mahal gets the lead. Number 9, Iron Honor gets second. And Chip Honcho, the 6, gets third.
Which
so
is another horse that I had talked about and said, I don't like this horse at all, but this is the type of scenario where this horse can stick around for a price.
Yeah.
And then I backed off, and I was like 5-1, but then he ended up going off at 11, which is far more accurate.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's watch. We can watch this race. And both you and I will just kind of talk through as they go. Don't really need to pause it because honestly, there's nothing that really happens.
I was going to pause it right as they get into the first turn because that's where I paused it when I was watching it earlier and just was like, all right, I've watched this race now.
Yeah.
So basically here you have the 10, the 9, and the 6, and they end up 10, 9, 6. So that was basically the race. I mean, it's basically over at this point. I mean, obviously not, but when it's all said and done,
there's not much change in running order. There's not much that happens. There's no real like big trouble trips. You could say like track profile, upgrade, downgrades, etc. Even that slight shuffle of Robusta on the 4 right there is like nothing really of significance when it's all said and done.
Right.
And the way, I mean, it's pretty much stays kind of like this all the way through. We get these jump cuts back and forth here on the backstretch a little bit. But yeah, it's pretty much what we expected of the race shape, the certain horses in there, Talkin not wanting to go that far, more of a one-turn type horse. The 14, kind of the same thing. I mean, they were compromised from the draw, but that horse doesn't want the distance as well. He's not even in the frame, but that was one that was, discussed. Oselli, a horse that you probably didn't want with the other factors that were in play.
Not even a little.
Incredible. The 12 who's going to make their move and run on the outside there. Getting into the scene late for 4th. Wasn't really a horse that in the Derby was super exciting. I mean, he just kind of made sense as like, class and speed figures, etc., and ran fine.
And if this race fell apart, he kind of had the right setup for it, but the race didn't fall apart. So,
And I mean, like you said, it's like it kind of did, but Incredible does like the same thing. He like flip leads. He kind of flattens out. He's another one that like distance wise, I think the notes were shorter. It's not really his overall class and speed figures wasn't able to overcome enough to get the trip and to get that distance.
I mean, he's in the middle of the track, so it's like, all right, so they clearly were setting this up to do that, and again, nobody passes anybody. I think it's more Taj Mahal on the rail going backwards, but like he's even floating further out. Like he clearly doesn't. Yeah, he clearly doesn't.
Which if he did it over the tire tracks, you'd give a pass, but he does it before, so whatever.
Yeah.
And he's done that in other races, so that's not a big surprise. But one of the things, when I look notes in the Derby and do notes in general, is always looking for that next, what's going to happen next, right? What type of changes from these horses that would really get me excited to play them back. In this race, there's nothing. I don't see a single. I'm not doing the notes for this race, but I don't see a single green keyword.
No.
There's no BTLs, there's no improves, there's no X bias, there's
how many shorters are you going to have on there? Like of the 14 horses, I would say 6 of them probably.
Yeah, and then that's also probably going to come with like drop.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just
lots of
not,
drops.
I mean, it really goes back to friend of the show, Matt McJunkin, asking the question, like, what is this graded stakes race?
Yeah.
It's a grade 1. It should remain a grade 1, but like, there's not a single horse in this race that I'm looking forward to being like, this is a grade 1 horse who just kind of had a bad day or had a good day and is moving forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Napoleon Solo, I think, is pointed towards the Jim Dandy or something along those lines. So a mile and an eighth for him makes sense. I imagine Iron Honor does sort of the same thing, one of those New York or Monmouth mile and an eighth races. Chip Honcho was a Steve Asmussen. Maybe he goes to the Matt Winn, though that's probably too soon. But like one of those like Kentucky Ellis Park type things. And then the rest of them go to the Ohio Derby, the Iowa Derby, the Oklahoma Derby, the West Virginia Derby types, and cool. Like be a fun horse to own, but not a big horse in national sense
Yeah.
necessarily.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see what they do with Oselli at this point, right? It's like you're maiden eligible, but
I
you've
I,
also
I
been picking up checks in graded stakes company, so why not just ride it out at this point? But
what
I would imagine that's a horse that is gonna have a break. I think they either run back really quick or he comes out he's gonna have a break because
I
he's run a couple big
Big,
efforts back
yeah.
to
I
back.
I thought he was running in the Belmont. I thought I heard, but maybe it was a
Why
joke.
not?
But I mean,
Why
at this point,
Yeah, exactly.
I thought it was a joke, but maybe it was a joke. But I thought it was for real. But who knows? It's the internet, so I
Yeah.
probably got duped in it.
I mean, Talkin is the one that I think you probably give a look to in the cutback in a one turn in the right spot. I mean, he really does look like a one
Yeah,
turn horse. It's shown multiple times, and it's so tough to tell at this point because he's been running in those longer races. Like, where is he on class? It's a tough read. It's
yeah,
like clearly they need shorter, but they still have to also prove like where they are.
yeah,
Bull by the Horns ran kind of a good closing run, but he's not on the level. He was kind of upgraded with the connections, a little bit flow. Um, Great White, I the price was stupid. Um, right, kind of right from the jump, just over bet for whatever reason. I mean, I had mentioned him as that if I was playing the race, I would, and I reluctantly like wrote it up, but wrote it up with a lot of qualifiers as far
yeah,
as like, very price dependent. It wasn't. I ended up not playing the race at all. But he kind of his warm up in the warm up, it just too much warm up, and it was very warm. They post dragged, didn't like either of those things. A lot of horses washed out. So just kind of an overall note on that front. And then Great White kind of stumbled a little bit too. Did they put that in the chart comment that he kind of stumbled? I wonder if it's in there.
followed at the break, raced 4 wide early. Yeah,
Okay, yeah. But other than, I mean, it's nothing that was like overall excuse
yeah.
worthy.
I
Anything
the biggest, I guess not shock, but the reason that we should keep the Preakness exactly where it is and everybody shut up about it. Not one horse went off over 30 to 1. Bull by the
yeah,
Horns went off at 19 to 1 of a horse that we were saying should be 50 to 1 and like the longest shot on the board, 19 to 1.
yeah,
Now, Napoleon Solo probably should be longer based on that, but Taj Mahal was the only one that went off under 5 to 1. Incredible was 5.8. So, you get a very good price, all things considered, when you have races like this, and we don't get them very often. So, Chris Larmy's theory on the Preakness future bet, continue to hammer it. It's the greatest bet in all of racing until it's not. So, as of
right.
now, like Napoleon Solo was 40 to 1 in that future
Yeah.
pool. So, I got 50 to
I
1 on what talking, and it's like, well, okay, I lost, but
Yeah,
who
and
cares?
he went off at 11 to 1.
Right.
It's a great bet, like because 'cause you're just it's one less horse that you have to play,
Yep.
right? Or even think about. That's what I
Don't
was
even have to
saying,
think
like,
about.
even if you did nothing else and you just let that go,
Yep.
and it's definitely a long shot, but at least it's like you're getting the best of it.
Yeah.
Someone thinks that horse is under 12 to 1 and you have it at 50.
Yeah.
Same thing with Chris. Like
Yep.
it's a win or lose, it's just a great bet.
Yeah. And you don't get that
And
very
I'm not
often
a future
anymore.
person, but in this case, I think it does. It because your money's not tied up for that long, which
Right.
I think is kind of annoying about the other ones. It's
Yeah.
like you put a bunch of money down and you're just sitting, it's not doing anything,
And they get
right?
scratched the morning of, like,
Yeah, yeah, there's so many things that can happen. This one's
yeah.
like a couple weeks away. You have some it's a
Yep.
little
You
bit
have
more.
you have a lot of information because if they're running in the Derby, as proven by this year, likely not coming back unless they're the winner. And even with the winner, they may or may not be coming back. So basically, just fade the Derby horses in the Preakness future, and you're doing okay most of the time.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to
Yeah,
the
we can
tournament.
definitely move on. I think that's
Yeah.
Preakness 2026. If I never talk about it again, I feel like I've talked more about it than I should.
So we had express bet tournament for the Preakness. It was $1,000 bankroll, $500 to the prize pool, so $1,500 total. 191 entries, pretty good, all things considered. I mean, 95,000 worth of prize pools. There's two BCBCs, the Pegasus World Cup, which are $6,000 seats. That feels like the express bet version of the Kentucky Derby, where just like
Mhm.
everybody gets one down the road. Everybody can be in this thing because nobody wants to pay $6,000 to be in the Pegasus. So, and then two NHC seats, which I think is just the default by express bet at this point. Like we always throw NHC seats in. So, yeah. So we talked about this a little bit. It was a weird tournament, and this is not a derogatory thing about Express Bet. It just feels different, and I don't know why. It's not because the 27 minutes between races and eventually getting an update, or an hour and 14 minutes after the races to see who wins. But you don't normally see, I don't even know, I'm going to have to zoom way out to show how many bets this guy made, but this was just race 13 here at the bottom.
Yeah.
He covered a lot of exactas, which won. Like he was right. So he won the tournament by hitting a $300 cold exacta 10-9. Got him to 16,000. So he 16x'd his money. But not the type of way you would typically expect to be seeing someone win a tournament. In
It's
Lucy.
yeah, and I mean, there could be a lot of things that are different. One, we just kind of notice a different style of play in these express bet tournaments, in general, because I think it's a lot of it feels like I think you mentioned it, and it's again, it's like no disparity to anybody, but the Twin Spires tournaments just seem like there's a formula, there's a method. It's it's pretty formulaic, and here you get a little bit more chaos
Yeah.
just in terms of unpredictable plays that start relatively predictable,
Yeah.
and normal. And you can even see it with this player here, hitting a double right off the bat, a 4x1, but a $50 double, and then conserving the bankrolls to some extent,
Yep.
having to make sure that you play that 1,000. But then getting into the Preakness, and this is kind of the other 2 points in general, is there's probably not a lot of people that play the Mid-Atlantic circuit, so you kinda get that unknown as far as, like, there's people that play Churchill, there's people that
Yep.
play Santa Anita, there's people that play Gulfstream, Naira. Laurel's kind of, it's a specialty, there's not that many that follow, and even on Preakness Day, it's not like there was these big full fields of stakes horses that you see on those bigger
Yep.
circuits. And even as we talk about the Preakness, it's like there was no like real strong standout. So
The
taking an
Laurel
approach
horse, the Laurel
is
horse was the favorite. Like the one
yeah,
that
and
only ran at Laurel. Yeah.
who this person completely tossed. He's
Yeah.
not in there at all. And so I could see something like this in that type of race of just saying, I don't really know, but I can look at these will pays based on the bankroll that I have. If one of these combinations come in, that's going to do something.
Yep.
That's going to do something somewhere. And
Yep.
so it could be like we're saying, like how you just approach certain races at certain times. This might not be a normal strategy, but in this case, it's kind of one of those tools that if you have it, it can work.
Yep.
And it did
Yep.
in this
And
case.
he at least played it where he was all in and he won, or he was all
Yeah.
in and he lost. And so, in looking at it a little closer, he basically had the 2, the 10, and then he had 1 or 2 of the 11 on top. So he did actually have an opinion. Like I
Yeah.
wrote him off a little bit like he didn't have an opinion, but he was on Oceller, he was on Napoleon Solo. He
Yeah.
had the 11 a little bit in there, who was, I don't even remember the name of the 11, but
I don't even remember that horse either.
The Hell We Did? No, it
Okay.
was the other
Yeah.
one. It was the not The Hell We Did, the one we talked about as The Hell We Did, but the other one. Well, I'll put it in over the
Oh,
top here. Where,
yeah.
no, Bull by the
Bolt?
Horn was
No.
9. It was we just literally just looked at. Oh well. But he did definitely have an opinion, and he played it like he said to get a number, because the one that came in probably was the lowest. If it wasn't the lowest, it was close to the lowest because he played it for the most. So, but when it was all said and done, it was a good play. A little unorthodox.
Corona de Ora was the
There
11.
you go. So
We didn't talk about.
we did
Okay.
not talk about Corona de Oro. That was
Yeah.
somebody else I was thinking of. Now I'm really gonna have to think about who I was thinking of. But yeah, I mean, it was just it's a good play. Like when it's all said and done, like it's a little goofy, but also he kind of hit it exactly how he was supposed to. So I mean, you have a 495 here and a 350 here. They look even closer. It's like good play, hit it, got to the number he needed, and won not by a lot, but he won by enough because second place ended up having 14,860. And he played interesting. This is more what you would expect to see from someone betting here. At least what we are used to seeing, where like he bet $13,000 and turned it into 27,000. But obviously had to bet that 13 to get there. So in the end, just hit the exacta for $500. No, key box, so 250. So had he not key boxed it, he probably would have gotten there.
Yeah, and there's almost less of an opinion. Sorry, I was just looking at. I included race 12 in that assessment. No, that you can see the opinion there. It's really keying around the 6, more or less. But
Yeah,
if we start kind of early on, the first play of the day is race 3. It's a cold exacta for 200. It's pretty standard play. Same thing in race 7, but that one connects. Looks pretty chalky by the outcome, and then hitting a key box, which ends up being kind of their kind of key play, so to
yeah,
speak. But that coming back 10,600, and then making some sizable plays. I mean, it's pretty tight, $500 in each race, so you would kind of think about the same. Um, Race 12,
yeah.
it's a little bit bigger. You would think the opinion is there somewhat. Let me just
Uh,
look at that.
I was gonna say a little more of an opinion, or maybe just a little bit more of a payout, and realizing because I think at this point he was down to 6th or 7th because he'd missed a couple of times, and so clearly playing to win the tournament. So what you expect and like to see,
Yeah.
but
It was basically like the kind of the top 3 betting or top 4 betting choices.
okay,
The 3 ended up going off at even money and finishing off the board, in that race, and then the 1 ended up going off at 6.8 to 1 as the 3rd choice, but was the 2nd choice on the morning line after scratches. So maybe just kind of keying around that being kind of
yeah,
the overlay, and then if the chalk doesn't chalk, then because the 4 ended up winning the race, the 8 ended up finishing 2nd. So some
mm,
idea there, just pick
yeah,
the wrong horse to key.
yeah,
Um, yeah, but then yeah, moving into race 13. Now this is what's interesting because you sent me David P's Twitter or X post, and this is not uncommon. Like for we've talked about this in other tournaments before. Like Chris Larmy's going to do this. I know who he likes in this race because he said it on this podcast. Chris Couples likes this horse here, et cetera. Like
yeah,
you're just people that are in media that are talking about races. Like we expect that. So you sent me the post about David P liking Great White. Is that
yeah.
right?
He liked him. I'll insert the clip here so everybody can see it, so we aren't just saying things randomly.
Okay.
Great White, I actually kind of like. It's 15 to 1 morning line, but the problem I think is people love this horse. So like he was what was he
Yeah.
was hammered at the
He
Derby.
was cut in half.
Yeah, so he got lovely grade at the Derby. So, but if Great White stays around 15 to 1, I would take a flyer on that. I mean, the horse fell down last time, but beat full effort, 2 back.
Yep.
Hey, it's Nick again. We when I went to go grab that clip, I saw they had a pinned tweet that was something different than what that clip showed. So that clip shows him just saying he's picking Great White, except for the price, all the caveats that we had mentioned. However, he was in context of doing a DK horse promo, which was a pick the winner, share a prize type of thing. The full clip if you care enough to go watch it, it's not a big deal. But Elio did pick Napoleon Solo, so good job by Elio. They were talking about who to pick in a contest like that, not the contest that he was actually in. So we thought he was talking about that. So the rest of this may seem a little bit off and like we're doing it incorrectly. I wanted to make sure that we kind of came back and said, oops, our bad. We thought he was picking this horse and then didn't use it at all. Turns out maybe he played it on DK horse and lost. So our bad. Rest of the conversation still makes sense, but just wanted to give that caveat so we didn't get a bunch of stoolies yelling at us after the fact. And he ended up like saying he liked it except for the price. I mean, the way he talked about it was kind of the way that you had written it up, where it was like, if I get 15 to 1 on this horse, it feels like it's the right horse to be playing.
It's the right horse to take a stab with,
right,
in this type of race. It's a right kind of stab in just kind of in a 15 to 1. Now he kind of put it back. It's like if the horse is 6 to 1, 7 to 1, I'm not interested. And 100%, I agree. I wasn't even interested at 9 to 1, but he still said, I'm going to use this as a contest horse. Now, after this race, now there's that gap that you mentioned between like where it becomes official. And I said, well, if he liked the 13, like, and at that point, I think he was in second still, right?
No, he was, second. No, he was in third because he moved up one spot. Yeah.
Okay, so in third, but had like a 5-figure bankroll or pretty close to it at that point. Like he should be dead if he bet his opinion in any combination. That horse, like, he's out, he's done, because that's normal. And so it was I was very surprised based on that to not see the horse used at all. Now, because there was that qualifier of, okay, this horse isn't the right price, or maybe like me, saw the warm up and was like, total toss, not a fan. But I mean, there were still ways to play that horse, as we saw with who won the tournament again? I'm just like spacing on there.
Robert Dolan.
Robert Dolan played a 10-13 exacta.
Yep.
So he had, because he looked at it in that exacta combination, because you sent it to me, it was 238, right, for $1.
It ended up being 10 over 13 was 256 for $1.
256 for $1. So even if you were looking at it saying, okay, 9 to 1, it's not a good win bet, I think that would be a tough horse to not include in exactas.
Yeah, especially the way that he played this exacta. So I mean, look at Portnoy's where'd it go? Like the way he played this was very much, I mean, he was all in. So right, because he was at 6,500 or so. And well, no, he had a little bit left because he paid 13.4 and he ended up with 14,860. So he even had some money left to play that he
then he could have played it. Yeah.
Probably just throw him onto both of those and then got the one he liked in there. So just very peculiar for somebody who talks about horses a lot and bets a lot. And I don't know. It was interesting to see they didn't have him anywhere in there at all. So
it was very interesting, and hasn't said anything about the tournament. So hasn't mentioned even running second. In this tournament. So no idea what the thought process was, what changed in this last race. Maybe that'll come out at some point. But it looks like the 6 was kind of the key horse. It was a $1,500 win bet on the 6. There's a 1/6 exacta box, has the 6 keyed over 5 horses for $2,500, and then has the 10 keyed in another one. But it's definitely not like the 10 was the key, because then we would probably see a 110 exacta or a win bet on the 10. Because I mean, the 6, again, and also keeping in mind, I'm not sure what the 6's odds were before that last click. But if you're saying like the 10 was 10 to 1, I know that because you text me right in, I'm playing this horse at 10 to 1.
Yeah.
And it ended up going off at 7.9, so almost 8 to 1. And Chip Poncho went off at 11 to 1. So I'm not sure like how close they were by that time. Because I mean, maybe you could say 06 was the longer odds. So I did that instead. I was between the two. But I think at that point it was probably splitting hairs.
Yeah. I was pulling this back up because I don't even remember. Yeah, but just seems like such a weird. And then to also though include the 1 and the 6 as such a big number, and I guess he didn't key him on top, so never mind. But
But he
like
didn't
in
use the 1 in the 10 combination.
which I don't have a screenshot of what that probable was. I wonder if there was something like it was so short or something because um,
Mm,
Napoleon Solo ended up going off as the favorite, or sorry, Taj
third
Mahal went
choice.
off at the favorite, and so maybe that 10-1 just wasn't enough. I mean, if we're being honest, the way that this race was going to be ran with the 1 and the 10 kind of butting heads, you probably shouldn't include them together because one's going to win and one's going to fall out, you
Yeah.
would guess. So I don't know. It's a interesting play for somebody who had an opinion, and clearly the opinion wasn't very strong, would be the way that I
Yeah.
would think about it. So we'll move
Yeah, and maybe
on.
we'll do if afterwards we can do a follow-up or whatever, but it's kinda interesting. Was there anything else, in terms of play? We weren't covering it as much. I wasn't really following live. I do
Yeah.
appreciate it. Will shout out, ExpressBet for updating the system and being able to see all the bets. I think
Yeah.
that's great. So,
Dan,
yeah,
Dan Piazza doing Dan Piazza things. He ended up getting eighth, which means he doesn't get anything for it other than turning his
bubble.
1,000 to 6,400.
Yeah.
But if it feels like he may have, I mean, he obviously left himself a little short. I wonder if he knew he was going to leave himself a little short, having not, not being able to see where people were before. And I didn't screenshot it prior, but like he did what he would like. If you told me Dan Piazza was playing this race and he picked a horse, I'm like, I bet he gets there. And he was close. So he did
Yeah, and
play the
I mean, he probably how much did he have in his bankroll? It looks like he
not
had, like,
much.
200, he had 300, he had about $600, it looks like.
Probably a little bit more based on he won. Well,
Oh,
he
shoot, I didn't even see, I was only looking at the 10 combinations. Oh, yeah,
yeah,
no, he had a lot more than that. But he
he
liked
bet
the 12 as
1,800. Yeah, he bet
well.
1,800 total, and 400 of that was in one race. So figure, not much before that. So a little bit more than right around $1,000, I would guess.
Okay. So, yeah, but the fact that, again, when I was looking, I just didn't
Yeah,
I wasn't looking at the 12 combinations. I was only looking at the 10, and I'm like, "Okay, they probably just didn't have enough to do a win bet on the 10," but then after my eyes what those days, have you ever, like, put a hoodie on and, like, the hood is in the front of your that's 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 me today. So, but yeah, the fact that he had kinda, like, 2 key horses that he just couldn't decide,
yep,
couldn't pull the trigger on one or the other, and then just didn't really know, okay, one of these 2 are probably winning, but still I have no idea who's gonna run
yeah.
second. So he's just kind of in that spot where my opinion isn't that great. I'm just gonna kinda spread and hope for the best, and yeah.
The other one that I was interested with, and one of the reasons why I was talking about ExpressBet being just slightly different, he was in the lead. James Oog was in the lead. He hit the win bet, basically went all in race 11 and didn't play race 12 or play race 13 and just thought he was safe given where he was. Um, I could have told him after race 11 he wasn't safe because he'd put a target on his back and he's probably in the worst possible spot. And maybe he didn't have an opinion in race 12 or race 13. That's
Or that secret third thing, his internet cut out, all of a sudden he's camping with his family and doesn't have internet. Has that ever happened to anybody
I,
here?
possibly.
So, I mean, maybe it was something like that, but maybe it was, because also too, you see a $1,100 win bet. It
Yeah.
shows he has some range, you know, that he's got bankroll and he's got range. So,
He was all like that was his opinion on the day, it appears, was like he played basically as minimal as he could. He hit, he hit a bet early that paid him decently, was then shoved there, and that was it. So
it's
um
so it's so funny because I was thinking about that. I'm like, if I would have played this tournament, I would have shoved on a 4 in race 11, and I would have hoped that would have been enough. Clearly, it
it, it,
it
it
was
could have
one of
been.
those that, like, it could have been, he just needed more bankroll
Yeah.
going into it, but, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I would like the story about what happened there if he did just lose internet, or if he was like, I'm happy turning my 1,000 into 11,000, and he ended up with probably an NHC seat, you imagine, because he doesn't get
Yeah.
any cash out of there. So hopefully he's NHC registered, so he at least gets an NHC seat out of the deal. I don't know. It's a very weird play. And then Adam Burgoon, I guess I skipped over him. He jumped up 44 spots and he played it kind of the way you.
Adam's a great player. Excellent
So
player.
he didn't play in race 13. He did the anti what we like
No,
call the
he
anti
did. He had doubles.
into the Preakness. So he didn't play the last right. So like he was hoping nobody got scratched at the gate. So
I mean, he couldn't. He like physically couldn't. All of his money was tied up in doubles.
Right, but that was his choice because he's a good player. It's like he didn't do this. He had a.
So he played race 13. He just didn't play race 13 as a standalone.
Right.
Yeah.
But and he was his opinion in race 12 was the 4 with a little bit of the 1, and his opinion in the Preakness was 10 with a little bit of 7, and I guess a little pinch of the 11, and that looks like it was just the 411's paying me a lot, so I'm gonna throw that one in because I got some money left. But an excellent play and a huge. I mean, moved up 44 spots with that play, and
there's there's a world where that total is good enough, just because this is just kind of a weird.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what we saw with Robert Dolan, who jumped up 10 spots. He hit that at the end, and I mean, Adam bet one of the things I really like what ExpressBet has added was that he bet $1,210 and he turned it into $13,467, which is a nice feature to know like exactly what he did. So that's a great play and a really good way of moving up into third spot, which got him $6,800 and probably Pegasus seat. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that covers it. I mean, that contest was interesting. Like you said, I think a lot of it has to do with people not really playing Laurel or playing the Mid-Atlantic. So you do get a little more like, I don't know, we'll figure it out. We won't go over the people at the bottom, but I know some Southern California people who are just like firing at weird things in the early spots of it. One of them may be a doctor who was in Denver and complaining about a race and may hate a jockey passionately now. So I hope he never gets cancer in Pasadena. I don't know who I could possibly be talking about now. I won't mention the jockey's name.
Narrowed it down, yes. But I think his oath of practice would probably would take over at that point.
I don't know if you ride a horse like that, he may throw it out. I may have to cut all this out. He may get mad at me for this one. All right, I think that covers.
Well, when you get deleted from the group chat, you'll know what you should have done. So that's that.
Yeah.
Speaking of getting deleted from the group chat, I think I've been deleted from X.
All right, good. Get your sanity back, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I think that if this new change, there's like that moment where like everything was failing to send, and I was like getting really frustrated, and I'm just like, fine, I'll just sign up for the thing. And then I was like, no, like, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to sign up for the thing because I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
And then I after doing like a little bit more research, I was like, oh, okay, this is it. But I think it's just, I think the app's done. I think it's over. I think it's like, because I think a lot of people will take the same approach as me and be like, I'm not paying for this.
Yeah.
And it's been like that kind of slow decline because the purpose, in like kind of a broad, like not horse racing purpose is like when current events and news would come up, you'd be able to get it. But now, like hardly.
Yeah.
I'll hear about something like a day later and I'm like, what? This used to be on my feed all the time. Yeah. And I like knowing about that type of stuff. I know a lot of people don't, but I do. And now I'm not getting that information. So that utility is gone. And then, even in horse racing X, like that's changed. Early on, pretty much everybody kind of was who they were. There wasn't sock accounts and burners, and you communicated with people that you like, and somebody you didn't like, you just didn't talk to them. And now it's like, it's not that. So,
no.
Maybe
it is for me because I just mute people and never hear from them ever again.
You do the same, but it's like, it's just like you're having to do that more and more, right? Yeah. Like where, people's accounts are getting hacked and like a lot of people left and they're not coming back.
Yep.
And it's just kind of like, you know what? Maybe it's just, it's run its course. and we can all touch grass and find different ways to communicate one another on a human level, and maybe that's for the best. So
I was going to compare Twitter to horse racing, where so you said it run its course, and it's like, well, no, maybe they can do it better, and maybe they can make a better product, and then maybe everybody would stay and play it still. So
I hope for that, and I think there is something to that, and I think there is that parallel there, because what horse racing has done is asked people to pay to play in a lot of ways, right? And we're kind of
Mhm.
seeing these big events, like it prices people out, like a lot of sporting events, and then people just walk away. They're like, okay, well, you don't want me. I'll find somebody else that does.
Yep.
And it's just like that last kind of push. And then once people are gone, it's hard to get them back. And so, yeah, with horse racing, it's like I don't think that door is closed forever. I think that door is closed forever on X, unfortunately, but that is what it is. I don't think it has. I think there still is that need, right? Because it's like I'm at Hawthorne, right? This is like Chicago track. It's a working class track. We don't charge people for parking. We don't charge people entrance. It's there's no bells and whistles, but that community is so solid. Like I go in, I know where the same faces are in the same seats every day. I know where they're at. They all come in, they talk, the place is packed. It's a place that's like it's very welcoming, and that gives me so much hope that it's like this is what it could be. And with spaces in communities that are less and less, like yeah, it's more expensive to go to sporting events. For a lot of people, that's just not something they can do. But the racetrack is there, and it's maybe you leave with more money than you came with, but you didn't have to spend any to get there. And you can just, connect in those
Yep.
ways. So I think that there is some hope for horse racing, but they're gonna have to come to that space on kind of their
Yeah.
own.
And not turn Golden Gate Fields into a park, because while you had Hawthorne, I had Golden Gate Fields, and while it was an hour away, it was still I knew half the people that would be there all the time. Right? You show up on a Thursday when there was no racing, the same five guys were in the same spot, and the same eight guys were over on the other side, and the guys on the other side would yell down the hall, and they'd all be on the same horse at Aqueduct. They'd all be losing, and then I'd make sure I didn't cheer too loudly because I was right. Thank you, David Aragona. And I would but it was one of my favorite stories of all time. Was like I don't know, I've been watching horse racing for a couple months, and I went down there, and there was nobody there, but there was a whole bunch of people playing. It's like, who knew that all these people existed? Like I had no
Yeah.
idea that people played horses, and here they are sitting at Golden Gate Fields.
And it makes him wonder, like, where are they now?
Yeah,
Where did they, where those people had lives in a community, and it wasn't just horse racing. It was, you know,
every
who do
day for
you
something.
when people would say like, who do you like? It's not always to like ask for a pick to play. Sometimes it's just a conversation starter.
Yeah,
You know? There's a lot of times that happens to me because I'll tell people and they're like, "Well, I like the 3." I'm like, but you just asked me and I said 5. Like, what? If you had an idea, next time I'm asking you about. Now we're talking, right?
right, right,
Now
right,
we're
right.
like riffing. Like
Yep,
now we're going back and forth and like we're cool now, right? Like
yep.
we can talk about stuff. And yeah, you can play horse at home, but you don't have that.
Yeah.
You
And
don't have that.
in California, we don't have OTBs, and even the OTB that used to be at Cal Expo, which used to also have a bunch of fewer people, but there were people there. Like even during the fair, they don't have it. So you have lost that entire like place of places to go and talk to people like you. So it becomes more and more needing to go on the internet to do it, and now the internet's pushing you away also. So where do you go? I guess
Maybe
sort of.
those spaces are gonna come back,
Yeah.
and that's why I think like it's not too late, but man, it's getting close. It's getting
Yeah.
closer to too late. That's
Not,
for sure.
not the way I expected us to end our Preakness conversation,
Yeah,
but I think it's a good way of having the conversation because it does matter. It, like in the end, like Preakness is one day, and we want all these people to come back and do it again, right? Like we
exactly.
actually do want them to come bet horses and talk about horses and
Yeah,
have the conversation about horses.
and exactly. And that's kind of like the utility of doing this, right? Is like I think we talked about the Preakness before, and like we really didn't have like an opinion. Nobody came here and got a pick from us, but you got something. Like whether it was entertainment or some other handicapping ideas or it stirred something in your brain that made you come up with something else. Like, there's that. But yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so one more question before we close out.
Yes.
Quick gut reaction. David Aragona or Emily Gullickson?
Bye, everybody.
1, 2, 3, 4. Going to AC